All right, guys, so a lot of news coming out from ABCA. You guys saw I talked to a bunch of coaches yesterday. Everybody was basically saying the same thing. Listen, 34, I don't think it's going to be as bad as a lot of people think. It does give us not a lot of room to dodge injuries like we've talked about with you guys, but most guys were saying we want something that's going to help us out a little bit more, especially in the fall where we can bring in a few extra guys and not have to worry about, okay, 3 arms get hurt in the fall. Like I talked about Butch Thompson yesterday, you may be in an issue, especially if they're really good pitchers. So what have we heard and what's come out? Well, there's a great article from D1 Baseball. Highly recommend those guys. Again, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. But D1 Baseball has a great article out talking about the meetings that occurred at ABCA yesterday amongst Division I coaches. And essentially, here's the gist of it, guys, so you guys know exactly what's going on. Right now, coaches were arguing a little bit, but came to an agreement on a 38-man roster cap for the fall, meaning you can't bring in more than 38 guys. You can't bring in nobody stepped up in supporting an unlimited amount of guys in the fall, but you can bring in 38 guys and then ultimately cut it down to 34 on that December 1st date. Now, there was some opposition to the 38. What was that opposition? Why would coaches not want 4 extra guys in the roster spot? Well, they've been through this before, and a lot of coaches brought up that if we go to 38 and we have to cut 4 guys and ultimately they're going to be upset, they may sue NCAA, take this to court. And what coaches are worried about is you allow these guys to come on campus, be 4 extra guys, they get cut, then enough of them sue after they've been cut from the roster that the NCAA opens up already a window in the winter portal, right? But allows them to transfer to another Division I school without losing and be able to play right away. So they don't have any penalties. They can go from D1 to D1 after the fall. Coaches don't want to deal with that. They do not want to have another, again, that winter period is really kind of the time when coaches have a little bit of kind of me time, a little bit of time off. That would make it to where college coaching is just a literally 12 months, 24/7, all around the clock job. Nobody wants to be handling a recruiting portal window in the winter with a lot of guys from Division I going in and being eligible at Division I. So 38-man roster spots, that's what they're pushing for. Again, they have to take this. This has to be presented to all the conferences. The conferences have to agree to that. So this is not a finalized thing, but this is what the coaches are trying to push forward. Give them a little extra breathing room, but again, there was some opposition to this. Next on the docket, coaches really want to push for 2 extra games in the fall against outside competition. So that would be 4 games in the fall where you can play outside competition. You can play other schools, typically are going to be regional type schools. And it just gives you another avenue to evaluate your team against guys they haven't faced. Because one thing that happens is, we know, when you're going through fall inter squads and then certainly in the spring, you face the same starting pitcher 4 times, 5 times. You know, you kind of know what his stuff looks like. You're going to be a little bit better at hitting that guy. So facing outside competition, again, it gets to see your guys that when the lights come on and it's a real competition, what do these guys look like? Is he just a fall American, which is what we would call a guy who in the fall looked really great, and then every season when the actual game started, they weren't that great. You want to identify, okay, who are the fall Americans and who are the guy that may be actually all Americans. So coaches wanted that. There was a little bit of a push to take it to 8 games, which is what softball does. But I think they settled down at around 4. It's 2 right now, so this would double the amount of games against outside competition. Again, not a major thing, but it does give you, I think, a better avenue to evaluate your team overall. That's what coaches wanted. Lastly, there is a push as well to move the spring practice start date to 35 days before first competition. Basically meaning, you know, how it works now, guys, is you get back to school, you actually can't have official practices, and you're doing individuals. You know, coaches can work with, you know, a few amount of players at a time. You're not getting inter squads in. And so your ramp up time period is like 3 weeks. You basically have 2.5, 3 weeks of competition where you can actually start getting game-like reps to prepare for the season. Well, this 35 days before first day of competition would essentially be right when you get back from the Christmas break and back on campus in January. You're able to go right in to inter squads, full practices. Again, the inter squads probably wouldn't happen for maybe the first week. Everyone would be different, but it would give you 2 or 3 extra weeks to try and inter squad, get game-like reps, and get prepared for the season, and just allow for a longer ramp-up period, especially for your starting pitchers, for your bullpen guys that are going to go 2 or 3 extra innings. So really, that makes too much sense. That's probably going to pass. I don't know why that wouldn't pass. Give them. They're allowed to do individual work. They're allowed to work with the team. Just let them do full-time practices. So a lot of great information, guys. Again, you guys heard from me on the live stream about Butch Thompson, from Jim Chester from Gardner-Webb, Karl Nonemaker from Auburn. A lot of great information. Going to be talking to coaches again the rest of the day, but exciting news to hear that we could be seeing a 38-man roster, barring agreement from the major conferences and the conferences across Division I baseball. Again, guys, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back with some more news from ABCA later today. Throughout the day, we'll be tweeting off X, and then maybe be going live again tonight. Appreciate all the support, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments.